Chapter 1089. Ning. She was amused by Grandpa Ning. That's good. I'll prescribe more for you after you finish it. Xiaoxi, which doctor did you find? He must be a real doctor. Grandpa has seen a doctor before, but the medicine he prescribed was terrible and useless. The side effect was worse than the effect. Grandpa Ning said. It's a friend of mine. He's young but very good at medicine. Ning, she replied. After Annie came to their home last time, they occasionally contacted each other through text messages. One time, she just asked casually and Annie sent her a very detailed prescription. So Ning, she bought 2 courses of medicine and sent it to Grandpa Ning to try. She didn't expect the effect to be so good. It seemed that she needed to find a chance to thank Annie. How dare you ask someone to prescribe medicine for your grandpa? Aren't you afraid that Grandpa will get sick? Ning Yarobang muttered. At this time, Ning Yaohua interrupted. Dad, didn't you say it was useful? Why are you talking so much nonsense? With that, Ning Yaohua said to Ning Shi kindly, 1111, thank you so much for your concern. It was a special time. No matter how dissatisfied he was with Ning Shi, he had to win her over. Zhuang Lingyu snorted and seemed to want to say something, but Ning Yaohua quickly stopped her. Xiaoxi, sit down. Seeing Ning Yaohua's flattering attitude towards Ning Shi, Ning Xueluo could only swallow her displeasure. Now, it was more important to get Ning Shi's shares. Sister, sit here. Ning Xueluo walked over and politely pulled Ning Shi to sit on her right side. Zhuang Lingyu was on Ning Xueluo's left and Su Yang on her right. Seeing Ning Xueluo pulling Ning Shi over, Su Yang took the initiative to make room for her. So Ning Shi sat between Ning Xueluo and Su Yang. After Ning Shi sat down, Su Yang seemed to be a little uncomfortable and moved further away. But no matter how far away he was, it was useless. The girl's natural and sweet scent still followed him like a shadow, drilling into his every breath, all the way to his heart. He couldn't remember how long it had been since he was so close to her. What he couldn't figure out was why he felt so uncomfortable just by sitting together. At this moment, the girl beside him was being pulled by Xue Luo to talk to her. From the corner of his eyes, he could almost see the girl's fluttering eyelashes like butterfly wings, and also her jelly-like soft lips, and her fair and delicate collarbone. He must be crazy. His fiancée was here, but his eyes were attracted by another woman, and this woman was Ning Shi, whom he had always regarded as his sister. Ever since he found that there was something wrong with his feelings for Ning Shi, he had been holding back from seeing her for a long time. It turned out that it was really effective. He had forgotten her for a time. However, it was only when he saw her again today that he realized that it was even more shocking and uncontrollable when her emotions suddenly burst out after being suppressed. Su Yang, sober. The man took a deep breath and tried to calm himself down. Sister, the clothes you're wearing look really good, Ning Xue Luo said with a tone of admiration. Then, she gently touched the corner of Ning Shi's clothes and said as if she had just discovered something. Sister, this seems to be Ziling's latest spring collection, right? I saw you wearing this on the show last time, and many people asked what brand it was. I heard that Ziling's collection has been sold out recently. Chapter 1090. Before Ning Shi could say anything, Zhuang Lingyu immediately showed an extremely dissatisfied look. You know that Ziling and your sister's company are against each other, but you still deliberately wear their clothes to advertise for them. You really know how to side with an outsider. Hearing this, Ning Yaohua hurriedly tried to smooth things over. She's a girl. When she sees good-looking clothes, she will buy them. Why would she notice so much? But Xiaoxi, this Ziling has indeed been against your sister's company recently. You should pay more attention to it. If you like this style, you can ask your sister to buy you more clothes. Last time when my sister came to our store, I said I would buy her clothes, but, sister. Ning Xueluo didn't finish her words, but it was enough for Ning Yaohua and Zhuang Lingyu to imagine. Zhuang Lingyu's face was full of disgust. Why do you care about her? She's so petty. She fusses over such a trivial matter and loses her temper. It turned out that being robbed of her entire life was just a trivial matter to her. Ning Shi sat on the side and looked at the 3 of them. She almost laughed out loud. She kept calling her sister, but she didn't know where her sister came from. They made it seem as if they were really a family. Now they didn't even mention that they had cut off relations with her and kicked her out of the family. Looking at the faint smile on the girl's lips, like a lazy epiphyllum in the dark night. Su Yang's reason once again broke through the cage. Aware of the scorching gaze on her, Ningxi subconsciously turned her head to the side. The moment their eyes met, Su Yang thought his heart would explode at that moment. It took all of his self-control not to lose his composure, and he said in a calm tone, "I watched your show a few days ago, and my culinary skills have improved again." Speaking of this, Su Yang's heart unconsciously emerged a trace of loneliness. In the past, she had learned her cooking skills for him, but now, he had to watch the show to see how much her cooking had improved. Ningxi smiled and said casually, "Really?" She naturally didn't miss the ambiguous feelings in Su Yang's eyes when he looked at her. If this man could be devoted to Ning Xueluo, she might think more highly of him, but unfortunately, dong, dong, dong. Someone pushed the door open and came in. Inside the house, everyone subconsciously looked towards the door and saw Ning Huan walking in with a proud and cold demeanor. "Uncle." Ning Chotong didn't look at anyone and only greeted the old man. "Hui Yuan is here." When the old man saw his niece, who he had not seen for many years, he could not help but feel a little emotional. Fortunately, he was relieved to know that she was living a good life outside. After exchanging a few pleasantries, Grandpa Sheng's gaze swept across everyone before he said, "Since everyone is here, let's begin." As soon as he said that, everyone's expression became serious. They looked at each other, then stood up one after another, walked to the oval table in the study, and sat down. The lawyer also took the prepared will and stood next to the old man on the main seat. At the round table, Ning Yaohua, Zhuang Lingyu, Ning Xueluo, and Su Yang sat on one side, Ning Yarobang and Ning Tianxin sat on the opposite side, and Ning Chotong sat beside Ning Tianxin. In the end, only Ningxi was left. Ningxi glanced at the empty seat next to Su Yang, then, ignoring Ning Yaohua's nervous gaze, she casually walked to the seat opposite Su Yang and sat down next to Ning Chotong. Chapter 1091. Ning Yaohua's face darkened when he saw her sitting on the opposite side. Now he could only wait and see. He hoped that Xue Luo could get more shares so that he would be less stressed and he wouldn't have to rope in this troublesome person. That. Dad, you're in good health now. You don't have to make a will at all. Ning Yarobang knew that making a will now was the most disadvantageous for him, so he tried to persuade his father. Ning Tianxin, who was sitting on the side, had an indifferent attitude from the beginning to the end. Grandpa Ning was furious when he heard his second son's words. He said angrily, "Shut up. It's not your place to tell me what to do. If you have the ability, turn around your loss-making subsidiary company, or don't talk to me." Ning Yarobang's face darkened after being scolded, while Ning Yaohua looked smug. Grandpa Ning calmed down a little and said, "In case you have any grudges, I have something to say before the lawyer reads the will." Okay. Dad, go ahead. We're all listening." Ning Yarobang began to show off after being scolded. Grandpa Ning glared at him and continued, "This time you all saw that I called Su Yang here. I know some of you have objections, but Su Yang is going to be engaged to Xue Luo soon, so he's half a member of the Ning family. Dad is right. This is what we should do." Ning Yaohua echoed. Zhuang Lingyu nodded, while Ning Xueluo looked shy. Grandpa Ning looked at Su Yang and continued, "We have nothing to hide about the distribution of my inheritance. In case there's any trouble in the future, I'd like to invite you to have a look. Grandpa, I'm marrying Xue Luo only because of her. No matter what the result is, it won't affect my decision," Su Yang said. Ning Xueluo stared at the man beside her and looked touched. "Brother Yang." Grandpa Ning looked at Su Yang and nodded with satisfaction. He had always had a good impression of this grandson-in-law. He remembered that Su Yang and Xiaoxi seemed to be very close. He thought it was possible for the two children to be together, but he chose Xue Luo in the end. But he couldn't ask too much about the children's love affairs. When Ningxi met Su Yang in the countryside, she was just a country girl. Su Yang's family definitely wouldn't allow them to be together, so they had been dating secretly. Even after Ningxi returned to the Ning family, she still chose to hide their relationship for the time being in order not to implicate Su Yang. It was not until she was pregnant that she had no choice but to tell Ning Yaohua and Zhuang Lingyu. So, except for Ning Yaohua, Zhuang Lingyu, and Ning Tianxin who accidentally discovered her relationship with Su Yang, she still didn't know that Ning Shi and Su Yang were together. After talking about Su Yang, Old Master Tang's gaze landed on Ning Chotong. As for Chotong, I know that her business is doing well and she's living a good life. Why did you call her here? She doesn't lack money. Ning Yarobang murmured. Grandpa Shen glared at him. What I want to say is that her father played a part in the company. Now that her parents have passed away, no matter how she's doing, I, as her uncle, have to give her what she deserves, no matter if she wants it or not. Chapter 1092. Grandpa Ning's tone was extremely serious, and no one at the table spoke. Even though Ning Yaohua and Ning Yarobang were secretly unhappy that another person had come to share the family property, they couldn't say anything. Ning Chotong wasn't easy to fool. Now that the shares were in her hands, it would be extremely difficult to get them back. What was worse was that if she wanted to fight for the inheritance of the company, it would be troublesome. Ning Yaohua and Ning Yarobang both looked as if they were facing a formidable enemy. Ning Tianxin was a bit absent-minded, and Ning Shi was the most relaxed person at the table. Ning Chotong, on the other hand, saw everyone's reaction. Okay, lawyer Cai, let's announce the will. As soon as Grandpa Ning finished speaking, everyone couldn't help but sit up straight. The lawyer opened the folder in his hand and began to read, Testator, Mr. Ning Jiyuan, due to his advanced age, in order to prevent inheritance disputes, I hereby make this will. My current assets are as follows: 51 shares of Ning's International Company, Limited, Overseas Fund Trust. After the lawyer read the grandpa's assets, he began to talk about the distribution. I have 3 properties in the capital, 2 shops, and an overseas trust under my name, all of which belong to my granddaughter, Ning Xueluo. What? Are you crazy? Giving so much to an outsider? Ning Yarobang was the first to stand up and slam the table. He couldn't believe that Grandpa Ning would give most of his assets to Ning Xueluo, a granddaughter who wasn't related to him by blood, and that overseas trust was not a small amount. What outsider? Xueluo is my daughter. Uncle, do you need me to repeat it to you? Zhuang Lingyu's eyes were sharp. Bullshit, she was just a girl from the countryside. My 2 biological daughters are not allowed to appear here today. How can an outsider from your family divide the Ning family's assets? Because she was raised by me, Zhuang Lingyu. I don't even know which bitch gave birth to your 2 illegitimate daughters. How can they appear here and dirty the Ning family's property? On the other side, Ning Shi, who had been maintaining an outsider's attitude, suddenly became absent-minded. She was absent-minded because of Zhuang Lingyu's strong protective attitude as a mother. She had already told herself that Zhuang Lingyu was just a stranger to her. Why did her heart ache uncontrollably when she saw Zhuang Lingyu protecting Ning Xueluo? Ning Shi closed her eyes slightly. After a while, she returned to normal as if nothing had happened. No one noticed the fleeting change on Ning Shi's face, except for Ning Chotong, who was beside Ning Shi and had seen everything without batting an eyelid. This child. I haven't seen her for a few years, but I didn't expect her to change so much. Not only did she change in appearance, but her temperament had also changed. She was much more composed and magnanimous than her peers, and there wasn't even the slightest shadow of the timid little girl from back then. At the table, Ning Yaohua, Zhuang Lingyu, and Ning Yarobang were already arguing fiercely. In the end, it was the old man who slammed the table to silence the 3 of them. All of you, shut up. It's true that Xueluo doesn't have any blood relations with the Ning family, but humans aren't emotionless. After all, she has been my granddaughter for over 20 years. These things can be considered as my dowry to her. No one is allowed to say another word. Ning Yarobang slammed his fist on the table. Chapter 1093. Zhuang Lingyu snorted and patted Ning Xueluo's hand comfortingly. Don't worry. I'm here. No one can bully you. Mom, thank you. Ning Xueluo lay in Zhuang Lingyu's arms with tears in her eyes. She glanced at Ning Shi from the corner of her eyes and sneered at her. After a short while, the reading of the will continued. The rest of the funds and properties were divided equally among several people. Ning Shi also got a property in City C. City C was where her foster parents lived. She had grown up in City C for the past 18 years. Grandpa Ning had put in a lot of effort to make this arrangement. After the distribution, there was only the most important part left, which was the company's shares. This was also the reason why Ning Yarobang had been holding back. The shares were the most important thing. At this moment, Ning Xueluo looked a little nervous. Grandpa Ning's attitude towards her just now meant that he wouldn't mistreat her in terms of the shares, right? The lawyer turned a page and continued to read. Ning's International Limited has a total of 51% shares. The distribution is as follows: Ning Yaohua 15%, Ning Yarobang 6%, Ning Chotong 10%, Ning Tianxin 10%, Ning Shi 10%. The reading is over. The moment the lawyer finished speaking, the study was so quiet that one could hear a pin drop. That's it. That's it. After the distribution of shares, Ning Yarobang finally let out a sigh of relief. Although Ning Yaohua had 15%, he and Tianxin had a total of 16%, which was 1% more than Ning Yaohua. How could he not be happy? Although Ning Shi also got 10%, she would never give the shares to Ning Yaohua because of her bad relationship with the other side. However, he didn't expect that even Ning Chotong would get so much, while he, the son of the old man, only got a poor 6%. It really made him feel bad. At this moment, Ning Yaohua looked at Ning Shi with a complicated expression. At this moment, even he had to say that the older the ginger, the spicier it was. The old man's distribution was really, all of them were restraining each other, and no one was able to make a move against each other. The first to speak was Zhuang Lingyu. Finished reading? What about Xueluo? No matter how hard Ning Xueluo tried to control herself, her face was pale. She had never expected that old Master Li would not leave her even a single cent of the shares. Wasn't this a slap to her face in front of the entire Ning family? Not to mention that Su Yang was here. After she married into the Su family, how would she be able to raise her head in her maiden family? Just now, he even pretended to say those words of deep love and righteousness. This damned old man. He was actually so cunning. Ning Yarobang snorted and said, "Didn't I give you what you should just now? What else do you want? Sister-in-law, I advise you not to be too greedy, but you can't not even give 1% of the shares to Xueluo. What is the meaning of this? Could it be that Xueluo wasn't from the Ning family? Father, you also said it just now, humans aren't plants or trees, we can't be emotionless. Xueluo has been your granddaughter for so many years, isn't it too disappointing for you to do this?" Zhuang Lingyu's face was filled with anger. Heh! Just as Zhuang Lingyu was about to speak, a low chuckle suddenly came from the corner. Zhuang Lingyu immediately looked towards Ning Chotong's direction unhappily. "Chotong, if you have something to say then just say it, there's no need to be so sarcastic. Since cousin sister-in-law has said so, then I'll say it directly." Chapter 1094. Ning Chotong sat up straight and looked at Zhuang Lingyu. "Cousin-in-law, you said that eldest uncle is a bitch. But in my opinion, you are the real bitch. What do you mean?" Zhuang Lingyu frowned. "It doesn't matter if outsiders don't know, but everyone here knows very well that Ning Xueluo is just an adopted daughter, while Ningxi is your biological daughter and the flesh and blood of our Ning family. What's wrong for eldest uncle to give the shares to Ningxi? I didn't say that dad is wrong to give his shares to Ningxi. That's his right. I'm talking about why Xueluo doesn't have the shares," Zhuang Lingyu said seriously. Ning Chotong snorted. "Well, let's talk about why Ning Xueluo didn't get the shares. Ning Xueluo was just an adopted daughter who was mistakenly switched at the hospital, but she enjoyed 18 years of luxurious life that should have belonged to Ningxi. After the truth was revealed, she didn't return to her original home and her original parents. Instead, she stayed in the Ning family and occupied the title of the eldest miss of the Ning family. She even found a good marriage with Su Yang as the eldest miss of the Ning family. On the contrary, our Ning family's direct descendant, Ning Shi, wandered outside for 18 years and lived a poor life for 18 years. Finally, she was found by the Ning family, but she could only bear the name of an adopted daughter. Everything that should have belonged to her was taken away, And even the servants could bully her and call her a wild chicken, a country bumpkin. What are you doing as parents at this time? You are accusing her of being vulgar and vulgar with outsiders. What right do you have to scold her? Did you raise her for a day or teach her for a day? Do you think you have fulfilled your duty as a parent by taking your child home and giving her food and clothes? With such cruel parents like you, it's better to let your child stay in the countryside and not know anything. It's better than being stabbed in the heart by her biological parent. Hearing this, there was a dead silence at the table. No one spoke. Ning Xueluo's body stiffened. Even Ning Yaohua and Zhuang Lingyu's faces darkened. The old man looked at Ning Shi with a guilty expression. Su Yang quietly clenched his fists. Ning Shi sat there quietly, looking at Ning Chotong from the corner of her eyes. She had long been numb and used to the coldness of this circle. She didn't expect that. Ning Chotong, who could have been completely indifferent today, would actually say these words for her. No one had ever said these words for her. Ning Chotong paused and then looked at Ning Xueluo with sharp eyes. The assets that eldest uncle gave to Ning Xueluo are enough for her to get married and live in luxury for the rest of her life. She's just a country girl. She eats and lives in the Ning family. She's the eldest daughter of the Ning family. What's there to be unhappy about? Tang Xueluo, let me ask you, what else is there to be unhappy about? What right do you have to ask for our Ning family's shares? Hearing Ning Chotong's every word, especially the word Tang Xueluo, Ning Xueluo's shoulders trembled violently. Her nails dug into her palms and her face was extremely gloomy. In the next second, she stood up and rushed out of the door. Ning Xueluo's face was gloomy. Su Yang's expression tensed up and he quickly chased after her. Ning Chotong, you're too much. Even if you are from the Ning family, this is our family's matter. Since when did you have the right to tell us what to do? You don't know anything and you're talking nonsense here. Zhuang Lingyu saw her daughter run out of the room and was instantly furious. Chapter 1095. Ning Chotong sneered. Heh, I don't know anything. I don't know who's the one who's blinded by shit. I advise you to take a good look at what's with you every day. Don't let a wolf into your house and get bitten to death without knowing it. Ning Chotong, I'm going to tear your mouth off. You have no right to comment on my daughter's character. Zhuang Lingyu was so agitated that she was about to pounce on her, but Ning Yaohua stopped her. Ha 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 ha. I think Chotong's right. I've wanted to say this for a long time. Sister-in-law, you treat an outsider like a treasure. I can't understand your IQ and logic. Ning Yarobang was watching the show from the side. Ning Yarobang, shut up. I think you're just jealous. Ning Yaohua yelled. The two sides were arguing, and the scene was chaotic. Grandpa Ning massaged his sore temples. He really didn't have the energy to care about their argument. He walked out of the study with the help of his lawyer. At the same time, in the backyard of the Ning family's house, Ning Xueluo ran all the way into the woods and cried under a tree. Su Yang stood behind her and gently pulled her into his arms. Don't be sad. Aunt Chotong's words are a bit harsh, but that's just how she is. Don't mind her. How can I not mind her? She actually made me sound so bad, as if I stole everything from Ning Shi. I'm also my mother's daughter. I've been in the Ning family since I was born. I've been Ning Xueluo's daughter for 18 years. Suddenly, she told me that everything is not mine. My parents are not my parents anymore. How can I feel good about that? Why did she say that I stole everything from Ning Shi? Didn't she suddenly appear and steal everything from me? Grandpa kept saying that I'm also his granddaughter, but he treated me like this. Doesn't he treat me like a member of the Ning family? Ning Xueluo said agitatedly. Su Yang didn't know what to say when he heard Ning Xueluo's words. In the past, if Ning Xueluo cried and said these things to him, he would definitely support her unreservedly and stand on her side. But now, maybe it was because of his inexplicable feelings for Ning Shi. Or maybe it was because of what Ning Chotong said just now. He suddenly felt that there was nothing wrong with what Ning Chotong said. All of this should have belonged to Ning Shi. Ning Shi was supposed to be the eldest daughter of the Ning family, but her life was misplaced because she was switched. Ning Xueluo did not know what Su Yang was thinking at the moment. She was extremely sad as she leaned into Su Yang's embrace and cried, "Brother Yang, what should I do? What should I do? How can they do this to me?" Su Yang patted Ning Xueluo's shoulder and said softly, "Xueluo, didn't you say it before? You don't want anything from the Ning family at all. We can rely on ourselves, and you are outstanding enough now. Why do you care about these worldly possessions? How can that be the same? Why should I give up something that belongs to me?" Ning Xueluo blurted out in agitation. Hearing this, Su Yang's expression suddenly changed. "Xueluo, how can you say that? That should be Ning Shi's, or do you really want to fight for the Ning family's property?" Ning Xueluo almost exploded when she heard Su Yang's last sentence, but she immediately sobered up. Chapter 1096. Damn it, she was too excited and actually said it out loud. Whether it was Su Yang, Zhuang Lingyu, or Ning Yaohua, what they liked was that she didn't compete. She definitely couldn't show that she wanted something from the Ning family. Ning Xueluo looked aggrieved and quickly changed her words. "Brother Yang, how can you say that about me? If I wanted something from the Ning family, would I have to work so hard? I'm just too sad. I've always thought of myself as a member of the Ning family and put them first, but they always treated me like an outsider. And you, Brother Yang, I want to marry you in a grand way. I want everyone to say that you have a good wife." Hearing this, Su Yang's expression softened. "Xueluo, I understand your feelings, but you don't have to worry. No one dares to say anything bad about my woman. You don't have to worry about being looked down upon if you marry me. I'll explain it to my parents. Brother Yang, thank you. Thank you for always being by my side." Ning Xueluo could only suppress all the dissatisfaction and anger in her heart and snuggle into the man's arms. When Ning Xueluo couldn't see, Su Yang raised his head and looked in the direction of the study upstairs. Through the window, he could vaguely see Ning Shi sitting on the chair. He couldn't help but think of the little girl from back then. The girl who carried him all the way, sweating profusely and trembling legs, but insisted on not abandoning him. The girl who picked fresh wildflowers for him every day. The girl who cooked delicious food every day to coax him to take his medicine. She was poor, she wore patched clothes, she spoke broken Mandarin, but she was so beautiful and cute. When did all this change? From the time he recovered and was brought back to the Su family, from the time he returned to the flashy city, from the time he was lost in Ning Xueluo's beauty, the beautiful memories in his mind had become unbearable. But at this moment, why did he miss it so much? He missed the girl's innocence, missed the pair of bright eyes that always stared at him, at the entrance of the Ning family's house. "That aunt." Ning Shi hesitated for a moment before calling out to Ning Chotong. "Chem." Ning Chotong, who was about to open the car door, paused and looked in Ning Shi's direction. Ning Shi coughed and stepped forward. "Thank you for what you did today. No matter what, she should still say thank you." Ning Chotong said nonchalantly, "We're family, there's nothing to thank." Hearing the word family, Ning Shi had mixed feelings in her heart. She bowed deeply, "Thank you." Looking at the girl in front of her, Ning Chotong sighed, "It's a pity that I was abroad and didn't know a lot of things. By the time I found out, it was already too late. I didn't expect my cousin to be so muddle-headed. If he continues to do this, sooner or later, the family business that the old master worked so hard to build will fall into the hands of outsiders." As Ning Chotong spoke, a cold light flashed across her eyes. Ning Shi also revealed a thoughtful expression. At night, the Ning family, Ning Xueluo's bedroom. Zhuang Lingyu tucked Ning Xueluo in and closed the door. On the bed, Ning Xueluo woke up immediately. Chapter 1097. There was no sleepiness in the woman's eyes. On the contrary, they were full of malice and hatred. How could she fall asleep in such a situation? At present, Ning Yaohua had 15% of the shares, Ning Yaobang had 16%, and Ning Chotong had 10%. Therefore, the key point was Ning Shi. Whoever she supported with the 10% of the shares would be the largest shareholder of the company, and the one who had the most power to fight for the inheritance. This time, Ning Yaohua and Ning Yaobang would definitely fight for the shares in Ning Shi's hands. As for her, she didn't get any shares at all. She had no say in this matter. Even if she tried her best to buy the scattered shares on the market, she could only get 2 or 3% at most, which was not very useful at all. Ning Chotong didn't even need to think about it. That woman was very difficult to deal with. It was impossible to get the shares from her. The key was the shares in Ning Shi's hands. She naturally hoped that Ning Yaohua could get the shares in Ning Shi's hands and get the inheritance of the company. However, if Ning Yaohua compromised with Ning Shi for the 10% of the shares, such as taking her home, or even revealing her identity, then everything would be over. Now, the most urgent thing was to have a strong backer, so that Ning Yaohua would completely give up the idea of revealing Ning Shi's identity. Ning Xueluo immediately thought of the Zhuang family, Zhuang Lingyu's mother's family. However, she had accidentally heard the quarrel between Zhuang Lingyu and Ning Yaohua. Zhuang Lingyu forbade Ning Yaohua to have any contact with the Zhuang family, and her attitude was very tough. Therefore, she didn't dare to get close to the Zhuang family, but now she couldn't care less. She had to seize this opportunity. As for Zhuang Lingyu, she had a way to deal with it. Moreover, Zhuang Kuo had been one step ahead of Ning Shi. She had to speed up. However, it was too difficult to please a rich lady like Zhuang Kuo. From what happened last time, Ning Shi seemed to have a good relationship with Zhuang Kuo. She didn't know if Ning Shi had said anything bad about her to Zhuang Kuo. Thinking of this, Ning Xueluo's face darkened. Last time, if it weren't for Ning Shi, after she successfully gave the clothes to Zhuang Kuo would have been wearing history's clothes at the state banquet. Then, not only would Zhuang Kuo get close to them, but it would also bring great publicity to the company. In the end, they were all destroyed by Ning Shi. Now that she had lost the initiative, she would have to use some special methods if she wanted to get closer to Zhuang Kuo. Ning Xueluo took out a key and used it to open the safe. He took out a mobile phone from the safe, charged it, and dialed a number. "Hello, it's me. Do something for me. Who is it this time?" A hoarse voice came from the other end of the phone. "Zhuang Rongguang," Ning Xueluo said. "Zhuang Liaoyuan's son?" The voice on the other end of the phone was low. "That's right, it's Zhuang Liaoyuan's son," Ning Xueluo said. "Heh, little girl, aren't you getting more and more arrogant?" The voice on the other end of the phone was a little sinister. Ning Xueluo said faintly, "Don't worry, I'm just asking you to scare him. I'm not asking you to do anything to him. When the time comes, just do as I say." However, he had to find the right time to do it cleanly. "I can wait, but don't make me wait too long." Chapter 1098. Peach Blossom Cove. After returning home, Ning Shi was thinking about what happened during the day when the doorbell rang. "Steamed bun, help me see who it is," Ning Shi asked. "Yes, my dear master." After a squeaking sound, a small screen appeared on the robot's face. On the screen was the surveillance footage of the door. It was Lu Tingxiao. Seeing Lu Tingxiao, Ning Shi immediately got up to open the door. "Boss, it's so late. Why are you here? I was worried about you. Come in. Steamed bun, pour me some water." "Yes, my beautiful master." The robot immediately went to pour a glass of water and brought it over. Ning Shi handed the water on the tray to Lu Tingxiao and sat down on the sofa next to him. Lu Tingxiao took the glass of water. "How was your day? Did they give you any trouble? With Grandpa here, who would dare to make things difficult for me? Moreover, there's something else that surprised me today. Do you know my cousin? Ning Chotong. She came back this time too. I've heard of her. She's a big shot. Why? We almost quarreled when we were making the will. She even helped me." "Quarreled?" Ning Shi nodded. "Yes. Grandpa gave Ning Xueluo a lot of real estate and trust funds as dowry, but he didn't give her any shares. At that time, Zhuang Lingyu immediately questioned Grandpa's decision and said it was unfair. Then Ning Chotong stood up for me and said Ning Xueluo wasn't qualified to inherit the Ning family's shares. Ning Chotong was so eloquent that Ning Xueluo lost control and ran out. Lu Tingxiao tapped the glass with his slender fingers and analyzed. "The shares your grandpa gave you should be 15% for Ning Yaohua, 10% for Ning Chotong, 6% for Ning Yaobang, 10% for Ning Tianxin, and 10% for you. Ning Shi's eyes widened. What the hell? Lu Tingxiao, how do you know so much? Don't tell me you've bribed the lawyers. Lu Tingxiao glanced at her. Your man can't even make such a basic judgment. Ning Shi was speechless. Cough, cough. Okay. You're good. You're the best. Anyway, it's exactly the same as your judgment. That's how Grandpa divided it. For now, this is indeed the best distribution method. It can balance each other out. But it's quite annoying. Ning Yarohua and Ning Yarobang will definitely come to bother me. Ning Shi sighed. Do you want Ning's international group? Lu Tingxiao looked at her and suddenly asked. Why did the Demon King sound so arrogant? It was as if he was asking, do you want to drink water? If you want to drink, I'll go pour it for you. Ning Shi thought for a moment and then said, to be honest, I don't care. With her current situation and energy, it was really not easy for her to get involved in this mess. But of course, I will never let Grandpa's company fall into Ning Xueluo's hands. Therefore, this was really a tangled problem. Fortunately, in the current situation, no one could touch anyone in the short term, so she still had plenty of time. In that case, I suggest that you transfer the 10% shares to Ning Qiutong for the time being. Lu Tingxiao suggested. Transfer it to Ning Qiutong? Ning Shi thought for a while and her eyes lit up. Chapter 1099. That's a good idea. I don't want to give it to Ning Yarohua and Ning Yarobang, but I'm afraid they'll bother me. Giving it to Ning Qiutong is a good idea. With her personality, she'll never give it to them. Besides, with Ning Qiutong's business skills, she won't let Grandpa's company decline. Boss, you're so smart. Ning Shi discussed with Lu Tingxiao for a while. Seeing that it was getting late, she said, do you want to sleep here? Lu Tingxiao glanced at the girl and said, no, thanks. Why? It's late. How troublesome would it be to rush back? Do you have something to do later? Ning Shi was puzzled. Lu Tingxiao pinched his eyebrows and said helplessly, because I'll easily lose control in our future wedding room. Understand? Ning Shi, Lu Tingxiao rubbed the girl's hair. I don't have to wait until after we get married, but I still want to do this because you're the most important person to me. I'm willing to wait and give you the greatest respect. Ning Shi sighed softly. Rubbing her head against the man's broad palm, she mumbled, I've lost to you all my life. I have no complaints at all. You were born to be my nemesis, right? After cuddling for a while, Ning Shi walked him to the door. Before leaving, Lu Tingxiao suddenly thought of something. He took out a red gilded invitation and handed it to her. Ning Shi opened it and looked at it. Puzzled, she asked, birthday invitation? Who is Mo Zhenjiang? Why is he inviting me? It's Mo Lingtian's father. The invitation was sent by Lingtian. If you're free tomorrow night, you can go. If not, it's okay. Presumably, Mo Lingtian was prepared to invite Lu Tingxiao and his female companion. However, because it was inconvenient for her and Lu Tingxiao to appear in the form of male and female companions, he specially sent an invitation to Ning Shi to show how much he valued her. Ning Shi thought for a moment. I'm free tomorrow night. I'll be at the studio during the day. I'll go there at night. In Lu Tingxiao's circle, there weren't many people who genuinely regarded her as a friend. Since he was so thoughtful, she couldn't refuse him. Lu Tingxiao, okay. Ning Shi tiptoed, leaned over and kissed the man's lips. She said in a domineering tone, baby, one day, I'll let you stand by my side openly. Let all the women in the city know that you're mine. Lu Tingxiao, those were good words, but they weren't. How were they the exact opposite? The next day, Ziyiling Studio. Recently, Ziyiling was preparing to expand the business in Province H, so Ning Shi spent her time there sorting out materials and making plans. Ning Shi looked at the time on her cell phone. It was almost too late, so she hurriedly said, I have a dinner party later. I have to go. Go ahead, boss. You guys don't need to work overtime. Rest early. Right, Shongzi, do you have any ready-made gowns in the studio? Just find one for me. There's no time to go back and change. Ning Shi hurriedly asked. Yes, what style do you want, boss? Gong Shangze asked. Ning, she thought for a while. It's an elder's birthday banquet. The colors and styles should be low-key. All right, please wait a moment, boss. Chapter 1100. A moment later, Ning she changed into the evening gown that Gong Shangze had found for her. Then, she put on some light makeup and tied up her hair. Gong Shangze had indeed found a very low-key style for her. It was a traditional and classic Qipao style, and the color was very simple and elegant. It outlined the orchids on a plain background, and she looked like a lady from a wealthy family during the Republic of China. Ning she stood in front of the full-length mirror and looked at herself in the mirror. She was very satisfied. Not bad, not bad. I'll take this. Thank you, Shangze. I'll be going then. Bye-bye tilde okay. Gong Shangze looked at his boss's back as she left, wanting to say something. This dress was relatively low-key, but on her, it wasn't low-key at all. Ning she was undoubtedly his muse, the source of many of his designs. She was even the model in his mind when he sketched out the designs. It could be said that she was the true owner of all of Ziyiling's clothes. After she put them on, she would give his designs the most perfect life, at the Mo residence. Today, Mo Jianzhang's birthday party was held in the outdoor garden of the Mo residence. The atmosphere was very lively. Lu Tingxiao had already arrived. Knowing that Ning she was busy in the studio, he didn't rush her. Mo Lingtian held a goblet in his hand. He moved closer to Lu Tingxiao uneasily and asked, "Hey, Lu Tingxiao, is your little white rabbit not coming? Is she still mad at me? Is she okay after almost falling off the cliff? Is she scared?" Hearing this, Lu Tingxiao glanced at his friend out of the corner of his eye. Scared? That girl clearly said that she had a good time and it was very exciting. He really hoped that she would be a little scared, so that she would be more peaceful. Mo Lingtian didn't know what Lu Tingxiao's look meant. As he was talking to Lu Tingxiao, he finally saw a familiar figure at the door. Ning she handed the invitation to the guard and walked in slowly. Under the gorgeous and dazzling crystal lights at the door, the girl was wearing a plain dress. Her hair was loosely coiled up with a wooden hairpin. She walked step by step with her back to the light, as if stepping from an empty valley into the mortal world. Behind her, it was like an ink-stained painting was gradually dissipating. Not only were the clothes suitable, but Ning she was also born with the talent to easily change her temperament. After changing into this set of clothes, her temperament also changed along with the clothes, so it seemed more compatible and complemented each other. Ning she's appearance caused a brief silence in the banquet hall, followed by a hushed discussion. Suddenly seeing such a stunning face, anyone would be a little curious. While the girls were curious about Ning she's identity, they were most interested in the eternal topic of clothes and jewelry. Therefore, someone soon noticed Ning she's Cheongsam. Who is the girl who just came in? She looked like a certain female celebrity. The gown she was wearing was really nice. It's too classy. Ah, I know that dress. It's Ziyiling's dress. I saw it in the specialty shop last time, but I didn't buy it because I thought it was too ordinary. I didn't expect the effect to be so amazing. I regret not buying it at that time. Ziyiling's clothes are not bad, and I like them very much, but the most important thing is still the person, right? The more low-key these clothes look, the more picky they are. That's true. After Ning she came in, she glanced at Lu Tingxiao and then found a corner to sit down. Chapter 1101. Mo Lingtian put his hand on Lu Tingxiao's shoulder and couldn't help but start to count: black-bellied little fox, cute white rabbit, shooting expert, cute maid, heroine, young lady of the Republic of China. Damn! How many faces does your little rabbit have? I finally know why you are so obsessed with this woman. Every time you change your clothes, it's like you are a different person. Do you feel like you are changing girlfriends every day? Lu Tingxiao said, I like her no matter what she looks like. Mo Lingtian's joke was suddenly deepened by Lu Tingxiao's words. Mo Lingtian felt like he was shot in the chest. Brother, I find that you become a Casanova after you fall in love. I couldn't see it before. I thought your EQ was low. Speaking of which, the strategy you gave me before was too general. Can you teach me more about the details? compared to those mushy words of love you said just now. You're right, you're right. How is Xiao recently? Lu Tingxiao suddenly asked. Mo Lingtian sighed. Last time you said so much, Xiao must have given up. She is not the kind of woman who clings to others. Mo Lingtian chatted with Lu Tingxiao for a while and went to greet Ning Shi. Then he went to entertain the guests. As a result, many people at the banquet asked him about Ning Shi. Even his father wanted to hit on Ning Shi. Lingtian, is that girl your friend? Mo Jianzhong asked. Yes, what's wrong? I just didn't expect you to have such friends. Mo Jianzhong looked at his son's expression with dissatisfaction. Ahem, Dad, how can you talk about your own son like that? When will she become his girlfriend? Mo Jianzhong suddenly asked. Phut ahem. Mo Lingtian was almost scared to death by his father's words. Dad, don't scare me. Mo Jianzhong frowned and looked at him. You are making a fuss. How did I scare you? As the saying goes, one's heart is born from one's appearance. I think this girl is very good, dignified, and generous. Since you are friends and seem to be chatting well just now, why can't you develop it? You are almost 30 and even Lu Tingxiao has a girlfriend. When are you going to stop fooling around? Mo Lingtian looked as if he was in so much pain that he wanted to die. Dad, let's talk this out. Today is your big day. Can we talk about something happy? Then can you do something to make me happy? Which family does that girl belong to? If you can't bring yourself to say it, I'll help you propose. If I get married this year, I should be able to give birth to a big fat boy next year. Mo Jianzhong was obviously crazy about having a grandson. Father. My dear father. Stop messing around. She's Lu Tingxiao's wife. Mo Lingtian couldn't bear it anymore and said. Mo Jianzhong was stunned. What? That's Lu Tingxiao's girlfriend? Mo Lingtian pinched the space between his eyebrows. So please calm down for a while. Besides, I already have someone in my heart. Mo Jianzhong snorted coldly. The person in your heart has high standards. Would he like you? Dad, am I really your biological son or not? People have high standards, but I'm not bad either, okay? He had been working hard recently. Mo Jianzhong looked in Ning Shi's direction and sighed, his face full of pity. You useless thing. You don't even have a wife now. Mo Lingtian was speechless. Chapter 1102. How hateful. If Lu Tingxiao hadn't left him alone and fallen in love, he wouldn't have been attacked so badly. In the past, there was at least someone at the bottom. At this time, he could still say that Lu Tingxiao was also a single dog. Now it was all tears. No, he had to speed up his pursuit of Xiao. As Mo Lingtian spoke, he was about to look for Guan Xiao to increase her favorability. Suddenly, someone ran over and pulled him aside, asking excitedly, Young Master Mo, is that girl in the opposite corner your friend? What's her name? Which family is she from? What do you want? Mo Lingtian glanced at the young master who was talking to him. This guy was Wang Shengzhe, the famous playboy in the imperial city. He changed women like changing clothes and liked to hook up with other people's women. Wang Shengzhe raised his eyebrows. Nonsense, of course this young master is interested. You know, that's the type I like. Mo Lingtian took a sip of red wine. It doesn't matter who she is. I just want to tell you, don't court death. Wang Shengzhe was unhappy when he heard that. Hey, what do you mean by courting death? A fair and graceful lady is a gentleman's dream. Mo Lingtian said expressionlessly, she's taken. So what if she's taken? There's no one in the imperial city that I don't dare to poach. Wang Shengzhe said as he walked towards Ning Shi without any scruples. Not far away, Guan Xiao was talking to Lu Tingxiao. Today, Guan Xiao was wearing a black Chanel dress. She looked as capable and neat as ever, but her face looked a little haggard. Guan Xiao looked at the man in front of her with a relaxed expression. She said slowly, Tingxiao, I'm sorry about what happened last time. I lost control of my emotions. I shouldn't have left without telling everyone. I understand what you mean. You're the most compatible man I've ever met. I used to think that I could spend the rest of my life with you. However, The rest of our lives are long and there are too many things we can't predict. Although it's a pity, I still respect your choice. Guan Xiao said and smiled. We'll still be friends in the future, right? There was no doubt that retreating was the best way for her to advance. She had deliberately not looked for him during this period of time. Now that she had put it this way, Lu Tingxiao could not refuse. Lu Tingxiao glanced at the woman in front of him. His face was as cold and arrogant as ever. He said calmly, I'm sorry. In order to avoid any unnecessary misunderstandings with my girlfriend, let's not have any contact in the future. As soon as she finished speaking, Guan Xiao's relaxed expression suddenly froze and became extremely ugly. She clearly did not expect that with Lu Tingxiao's EQ, he would reply to her so coldly and directly, not even giving her any face. Guan Xiao stared at the man in front of her with hurt written all over her face. Her voice trembled slightly as she said, Tingxiao. We've known each other for more than 20 years. I can understand that you have someone you like, but I've already said that I'll back out. Are you going to erase our friendship just because of a woman you've only known for a short while? She's not a woman I've just met. She's going to be my future wife. As Lu Tingxiao spoke, he looked coldly at the woman in front of him. There was a warning in his eyes, which made Guan Xiao unconsciously feel a chill flashing across her body. Chapter 1103. After talking to Guan Xiao, Lu Tingxiao's eyes fell on Ning Shi, who was not far away. He saw Wang Shengzhe sitting opposite Ning Shi. The man's cold face suddenly changed slightly. He casually said excuse me to Guan Xiao and walked straight to Ning Shi's direction. The small garden of the Mo family was very unique and the scenery was quite good. Ning Shi was sitting in a corner. Above her head was a large cluster of vines with small flowers. Beside her was a pond with floating water lilies and a bright moon reflected in it. However, what was more beautiful than the scenery was the person in the scenery. However, Ning Shi's attention was all on Lu Tingxiao and Guan Xiao. Really, what were they talking about? They had been talking for so long. Damn it. Many young talents and those who were looking for wives for their sons like Mo Zhenjiang had noticed Ning Shi. Before they could make a move, they saw the famous playboy walking towards Ning Shi. Seeing that Wang Shengzhe began to chase after women again, everyone felt sorry for him. This girl looked very innocent. Don't be fooled by this scumbag. The Wang family in the capital was also a famous rich and powerful family. Wang Shengzhe was also capable, but he was too greedy for beauty, which was criticized by many people. Ning Shi was curious about what Lu Tingxiao and Guan Xiao were talking about, when suddenly a man came up to her. Miss, is this seat taken? The man was wearing a well-tailored, British-style three-piece suit. It was retro and free, and his looks could be considered to be above average. Coupled with this suit, he could be considered to be an elegant gentleman. However, his eyes were turbid and listless, as if he had indulged himself too much. However, no matter what this man was like, it had nothing to do with her. Ning Shi continued to stare at Lu Tingxiao. Without looking at him, she said casually, someone's here. Ning Shi didn't play by the rules at all, which made Wang Shengzhe stunned. Then he smiled and said, Miss, you're really funny. I've been paying attention to you for a long time. You seem to be alone. Ning Shi was speechless. Why did you still ask? Seeing that Ning Shi didn't look at him, Wang Shengzhe became more excited and his eyes scanned Ning Shi's body like a radar. Wang Shengzhe, a man who mingled with women, knew more about women than women, so he quickly found a topic. Miss, did the gown you're wearing come from Ziling? Hearing Ziling's name, Ning Shi finally responded, yeah, what's wrong? Wang Shengzhe saw that he had found the right entry point. He immediately looked pleased and continued the conversation. This is ordinary ready-made clothing, right? That's right. Ning Shi nodded. She wanted to see what he wanted to say. Miss, did you not manage to book the advanced custom-made model? The orders for Ziling Premium Custom-Made Edition seem to have been queued up for more than half a year. It's really not easy to order one. However, I know the staff there. If Miss likes it, I can help you order one. Wang Shengzhe tried to please her. Ning Shi smiled without batting an eyelid. How can I do that? I won't accept a reward if I didn't do it. When Wang Shengzhe heard that there was hope, he became even more attentive. "Oh, miss, you are too modest. For a beauty like you, your existence is a kind of contribution. It's pleasing to the heart and the eyes." As Wang Shengzhe spoke, his eyes swept over the girl's gentle brows, delicate nose, cherry-like lips, and her slender and soft waist that was outlined by the cheongsam. Chapter 1104. The girl was dressed conservatively. She was knee-length and her neckline was wrapped up to her neck, but she gave off a restless vibe. She was definitely a stunner. Wang Shengzhe's eyes lit up. He had made up his mind to get this woman. As for Mo Lingtian's warning, he had completely forgotten about her beauty. "By the way, I still don't know your name, miss." "My surname is Wang, and my name is Wang Shengzhe," Wang Shengzhe asked as he moved closer to Ning Shi. Wang Shengzhe thought he was good at picking up girls, but Ning Shi's eyes almost rolled to the back of her head. What? He was Wang Shengzhe, the #1 flirt in the capital? Was that it? Me. Ning Shi said faintly while raising her eyebrows to look at the great demon king who was approaching her step by step. Humph. She was chatting happily with her childhood sweetheart, and now he finally had the time to discipline her. Ning Shi thought bitterly. Wang Shengzhe saw the girl's angry eyes as she looked in a certain direction. He couldn't help but feel tempted. Her eyes were too seductive. At the same time, Ning Shi cupped her chin and answered Wang Shengzhe's question with a chuckle. "My surname is Ning now, and Lu in the future." Not far away, Lu Tingxiao, who looked like he was about to go on a killing spree, suddenly looked gentle when he heard Ning Shi's words. "Surname Lu, after my surname, that was a brilliant answer. No wonder she was his wife." "Oh, which one?" Wang Shengzhe asked. "Lu as in Lu Tingxiao," Ning Shi answered. Ning Shi had been staring at Lu Tingxiao for a long time. Wang Shengzhe finally understood and sneered. "Hehe, Miss Ning, you have a big appetite. You even dare to use the surname Lu?" Ning Shi raised her eyebrows. "Why not? I've thought about it. I'll only marry Lu Tingxiao in this life." Wang Shengzhe almost laughed. "Everyone in the capital wants to be Mrs. Lu. What's the use of thinking about it? Why don't you think about something practical?" Wang Shengzhe reached out to Ning Shi as he spoke, however, Lu Tingxiao had already arrived in front of the two of them. "Yo, Boss Lu, you." When Wang Shengzhe saw the person, he thought that the other party was looking for him. He was about to speak with a flattered expression. However, the man's gaze did not linger on him at all. Instead, he focused on the girl in front of him. His gaze was gentle and affectionate, and his tone was even more doting. "Wait for me to go home tonight." Ning Shi nodded with a smile. "I know." The short conversation between the two of them was enough to make Wang Shengzhe's face turn ashen. These two people, what's going on? It couldn't be what he was thinking, right, that. "Boss Lu. I." After Wang Shengzhe realized the relationship between the two of them, he was scared out of his wits. He looked at the man in front of him and stammered. Lu Tingxiao's gaze froze Wang Shengzhe, who was already dumbfounded and speechless, before he left without saying a word. Although there were no words, Wang Shengzhe felt as if he had just experienced death under the man's gaze. After Lu Tingxiao left, Wang Shengzhe looked at Ning Shi with a blank face. You, and Lu Tingxiao." Chapter 1105. Ning Shi smiled. "That's exactly what you think." Wang Shengzhe. After a while, Wang Shengzhe almost stumbled and ran back to find Mo Lingtian to settle the score. "Fuck. Mo Lingtian, why didn't you tell me that girl was Lu Tingxiao's woman?" "Didn't I tell you?" Mo Lingtian looked at the sweaty man who looked like he had just been abused by a beast. He looked like he would suffer if he didn't listen to the old man. "When did you tell me that?" Wang Shengzhe almost collapsed. "I told you not to get yourself killed. There is no one in Imperial City that you don't dare to poach. You can just use the elimination method," Mo Lingtian said matter-of-factly. Wang Shengzhe almost choked to death. It's over. What should I do? Fuck. I just hooked up with Lu Tingxiao's woman. Should I buy something as an apology to that lady? She seems to like Zi Ling's clothes very much. Should I get some haute couture for her? Mo Lingtian glanced at him and said quietly, that girl is Zi Ling's boss. Wang Shengzhe. In the eyes of the others, they only saw Wang Shengzhe hooking up with a girl, and then Lu Tingxiao walked over. Ningxi was sitting in the corner, and Lu Tingxiao's back was facing everyone, so they only saw Lu Tingxiao say something to Wang Shengzhe, and then Wang Shengzhe suddenly ran away as if he had seen a ghost. They didn't know what Lu Tingxiao said. However, there were also people who understood the situation. Ha 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 ha. Wang Shengzhe is really digging his own grave this time. He even dares to poach Lu Tingxiao's woman. Ling Fei laughed. Everyone present was confused. Only a few people who were close to Lu Tingxiao's circle and knew Ningxi's identity knew the situation. Zhao Haisheng hugged his wife and looked amused. But you can't blame Wang Shengzhe. Who would have thought that a girl he randomly hooked up with would be Lu Tingxiao's woman? Speaking of which, are Lu Tingxiao and Miss Ning going to keep their relationship a secret? Ling Fei frowned. Didn't I hear last time that it was because of Miss Ning's job that she couldn't disclose her relationship? Zhao Haisheng said. Ling Fei looked at the girl and sighed. Actually, I think she's a good girl. If other actresses were to hook up with Lu Tingxiao, they would definitely go around telling the whole world about it. Do you know Su Yimo from Shengshe Entertainment? She clearly had nothing to do with Lu Tingxiao, but she still called herself the future Mrs. Lu, the woman that Lu Tingxiao truly loved. But in reality, Lu Tingxiao probably doesn't even know who she is. That is true. Although we've only met her twice, this girl is really nice and special. She scares us half to death every time. Ha 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 ha. In a secluded corner of the garden, Guan Rui held a goblet in his hand and looked in the direction of the pond through the branches and leaves. Guan Xiao looked a little nervous. Father, will this method really work? Guan Rui took a sip of red wine. Many of the guests today are government officials and even the leaders of the disciplinary and law departments. Even the impartial Judge Liang is here. If she kills someone in front of everyone, even Lu Tingxiao won't be able to protect her this time. Even if she manages to keep her life, do you think a murderer can marry into the Lu family? Chapter 1106. Guan Xiao frowned and looked at the woman in white who was talking to Ningxi. Will Lirong be okay? What if she is not dead? She will die. Guan Rui's eyes were full of murderous intent. What he meant was that even if she was not dead, he had made arrangements at the hospital to make sure that nothing would go wrong. After all, it was the first time that she had done something that involved human life. Guan Xiao's fingers trembled slightly, but she soon calmed down. Cao Lirong was going to die. They just made the most of her death, and when they killed Ningxi, they would have avenged her. She had failed so many times. This time, there must be no more accidents. This time, Ningxi must have no chance to make a comeback. At the thought of Lu Tingxiao's ruthlessness, all her concerns were forgotten. Guan Rui patted his daughter on the shoulder. Go and get ready. It's time for us to show up. Call your Uncle Lu and Aunt Lu as well. Let them see Ningxi kill people with their own eyes. It will be more interesting. Yes, father. After Wang Shengzhe was driven away by the devil, Ningxi finally had some peace. She got up in a good mood, took some fish food and stood by the pond to feed the fish. A large group of red koi surrounded her, greedily fighting for food, which was quite interesting. Inexplicably, Ningxi thought of Lu Jingli, the funny foodie. She took a picture and sent it to him. While she was happily feeding the fish, she suddenly heard footsteps beside her. Ningxi thought it was another playboy who came to hit on her, but when she looked up, she found it was a strange girl in a white dress with a delicate figure. The girl had makeup on her face, but it still couldn't hide her pale and sickly face. Ningxi looked at her carefully. She really didn't know her and didn't know what she wanted, so she didn't take the initiative to speak but just quietly waited to see what the girl wanted to do. The girl looked her up and down as if she was looking at garbage. She looked at every part of her body critically and sneered. Oh, you are Ningxi? You're really thick-skinned. How dare a lowly person like you want to marry into the Lu family? Ningxi subconsciously raised her eyebrows when she heard this. Oh, this woman looked so delicate, but she didn't expect her to be so vicious. But she was sure she didn't know this woman. What was going on? Something's wrong. There must be something fishy. Just as Ningxi was guessing the intention of the woman in white, the woman's words became more and more unpleasant. Do you think dressing up like a lady can hide the fact that you were raised by a vulgar village woman? He was just a lowly wretch who couldn't even be seen in public, yet he really thought he was someone important. You have a mother but no mother to raise you. Hearing the last sentence, Ningxi suddenly narrowed her eyes. A sliver of coldness appeared in her eyes. When the woman saw her reaction, she became even more aggressive and continued to provoke her, each sentence more unpleasant than the previous one. Who doesn't know how messy the entertainment industry is? She was merely a stinky whore who had been trampled by thousands of men. Why are you pretending to be pure? Shameless bitch. The woman in the white dress saw that Ningxi was so calm and didn't get angry. After saying that, she directly splashed the red wine in her hand towards Ningxi's face. Ningxi's face and hair were covered in red wine, dripping down. Her clothes were also wet. She was in an extremely sorry state, and her slightly lowered eyes were filled with a gloomy expression. Chapter 1107. The woman in the white dress was delighted. She would be able to fight back. Therefore, the woman became even more aggressive. She pushed Ningxi and reached out to push Ningxi's shoulder. Bitch! How dare you glare at me? But what the woman in white didn't expect was that she didn't use much strength when she pushed Ningxi. Ningxi's body was like a kite with a broken string. With the force of her push, she fell out. The next second, with a splash, she fell into the pond. How could this be? She was supposed to be pushed into the water by Ningxi. How could it be Ningxi who was pushed into the pond? To make matters worse, at the moment when Ningxi was pushed into the water, Guan Ziao held Yang Rui's arm, followed by Lu Chongshan, Mo Lingtian, and his parents. A group of people came from the corner while chatting. Just then, Ningxi was pushed into the water. Thus, everyone saw the scene of Ningxi being pushed into the water. At the same time, the servants nearby saw someone falling into the water and shouted, someone fell into the water. Someone fell into the water. A lady fell into the pond. Help her. Meanwhile, Yang Rui and Lu Chongshan were utterly shocked. What was going on? The lady who was pushed into the pond was Ningxi. Someone. Is there anyone who can swim? Hurry up and help her. Mo Jianzhong ordered the servants to go down and help. But just then, there was a splash and the sound of someone falling into the water. President Lu is going down, a servant exclaimed. President Lu, be careful. Tingxiao. Yang Rui's face turned pale. Lu Chongshan's expression also changed. It's okay. Tingxiao is good at swimming. Mo Jianzhong hadn't expected this. The pond is very deep and there are many big rocks in it. It's very dangerous. I'll go too. Mo Lingtian was about to go into the water when several servants stopped him. Young man, it's dangerous. The security is here. At this moment, Guan Ziao didn't expect that the one who fell into the water was not the person they arranged, but Ningxi. She stood there in a daze. Even Guan Rui looked gloomy and glared at the girl in the white dress. The girl was obviously also completely dumbfounded. Being stared at by Guan Rui, she immediately trembled in fear. At the same time, in the depths of the pond, Lu Tingxiao finally found a hand and hurriedly pulled the girl over. Just as he was about to bring him up, the girl pressed him down and did not let him move. Then, with her finger, she wrote 3 words on his palm, "Cooperate with me." Others might not know, but Lu Tingxiao knew very well that with Ningxi's skills, it was impossible for her to be pushed into the pond by a weak girl so easily. On such an occasion today, there was absolutely no one who would hurt Ningxi in public. Therefore, there was only one possibility. Ningxi fell into the water on purpose. However, although he had guessed it, the moment he saw her fall into the water, he still jumped down in shock, afraid that there would be an accident. This girl had a conscience this time. She knew to inform him in advance. Lu Tingxiao was so angry that he pinched the girl's waist. Ningxi felt the pain and couldn't help widening her eyes. She complained, "Damn, baby, I almost couldn't hold my breath because of your pinch. Chapter 1108. After glaring at Lu Tingxiao, she returned the favor and bit his lips. Then, she continued writing on Lu Tingxiao's palm with her finger, "Scam." At first, Ningxi didn't understand why the woman in the white dress kept provoking her like a lunatic. When the woman poured wine on her, she almost couldn't help but retaliate. Luckily, she reacted at the critical moment and made the first move, turning the scam into a reverse scam. Fuck. With your poor acting skills, you want to play scam with me? I'll play you to death. Lu Tingxiao naturally knew what Ningxi was thinking. This girl, it's not like she doesn't have any other way to solve this, but does she have to be so exciting every time? This time, he was looking at her. He didn't know what to say anymore. At that time, he was on the other side of the pond. Although he was dealing with the guests who came over to talk to him, he still kept a bit of his attention on Ningxi. Ningxi was feeding the fish at first, and then, a woman in a white dress with her back facing him spoke to Ningxi. Then, before he could react, the scene just now happened. Actually, Ningxi knew that she could have just left the place in time when she realized the other party's intentions. However, that would be too easy on the other party. She wouldn't be satisfied if she didn't bite the other party, so she decisively bit back. This wasn't over yet. While Lu Tingxiao and Ningxi were flirting with each other in the water, the people on the shore were going crazy. Oh my god. What should we do? Why isn't Tingxiao up yet? Don't worry, don't worry. The security is here. Guan Ziao was burning with anxiety. She hurriedly gave the woman in the white dress a look. It would be terrible if this woman was caught and sold them out. Even if she didn't sell them out, they wouldn't be able to get away with it. Because Cao Lirong was a distant relative of the Guan family, she could only attend the banquet because she specially asked for an extra invitation from Mo Lingtian. Originally, she thought that she would have a reason to hold on to Ningxi, who knew that she would become their biggest weakness in the end. When the woman in the white dress received Guan Ziao's reminder, her face turned pale. She wanted to take advantage of the chaos to sneak away. However, just as she was about to sneak away, Zhao Haisheng discovered her and grabbed her. Fuck. You woman. Where are you going? Trying to run after pushing someone? I didn't push her. Cao Lirong screamed. Ling Fei also grabbed the woman's arm. Everyone saw it. You still want to act shamelessly. Zhao Haisheng and his wife's shouts attracted the attention of the others. Mo Jianzhong immediately ordered his men to control the woman. Guan Ziao had no choice but to bite the bullet and say, "Uncle Mo, Cao Lirong is my sister. I think it was just a misunderstanding." Mo Jianzhong had seen with his own eyes how the girl in the white dress had pushed the man down. His face was sullen and there was no room for negotiation. No matter what happened, we have to wait until they come up. This lady can't leave yet. In the corner, Mo Lingtian looked at the anxious Guan Ziao, and an imperceptible trace of coldness flashed across his eyes. The security guards went into the water one after another. The super-strong searchlights shone towards the pond and began to look for the person who fell into the water. Just then, with a splash, Lu Tingxiao finally came ashore with Ningxi, who was dying, in his arms. Chapter 1109. Seeing the woman in Lu Tingxiao's arms, Yang Rui had a knowing look on her face. It was really Ningxi. No wonder her son jumped so fast. But why did Ningxi have a conflict with this relative of Xiao's and get pushed into the water? Move. Lu Tingxiao ordered the guests who were blocking the way to leave with a cold face. Holding the girl in his arms, he walked quickly towards the door. An hour later, in a high-end private hospital in the capital. This hospital belonged to Lu Enterprises. In order to cooperate with his wife's performance, Lu Tingxiao told the hospital in advance, so Ningxi was directly pushed into the emergency room. In the corridor, Lu Chongshan, Yang Rui, Guan Rui, and Mo Jianzhong were all there, as well as Guan Ziao and Mo Lingtian. On the bench in the corner, the girl in the white dress who pushed Ningxi into the water just now was shivering. Not far away, a series of footsteps could be heard approaching. A few uniformed public security officers walked over and shook hands with Mo Jianzhong. Minister Mo. Mo Jianzhong hurriedly greeted them. Seeing that Mo Jianzhong called the police here, Guan Rui's face darkened. Director Mo, it's just a quarrel between the young people. Why bother the police? Guan Xiao also said, Uncle Mo, it's your birthday today. I'm afraid it's not good to make such a scene. Let's solve it privately. I'll ask Rongrong to apologize to Ningxi later, Guan Xiao said and looked at Mo Lingtian with a pleading look. Mo Lingtian had been absent-minded since the beginning. Sensing that Guan Xiao's request for help seemed to signal him to say something, Mo Lingtian frowned and looked at the red light in the resuscitation room. In the end, he did not say anything. Lu Chongshan thought for a moment and then said, Old Mo, it's not good to make such a scene. If the child is fine, let's solve it privately. Guan Rui immediately followed Lu Chongshan's words and said, It's just drowning. It's not a big deal. You don't have to make such a scene. He was implying that Mo Jianzhong was making a fuss over a minor issue. He didn't know that if it was Cao Lirong who was lying here today and it was Ningxi who pushed her, he would only make a fuss until Ningxi was doomed. He even planned to drag several unreasonable relatives of Cao Lirong's hometown over to make a fuss. Mo Jianzhong listened to the advice of his two good friends, and his expression began to waver. However, at this moment, the emergency room's door was suddenly pushed open, and a young nurse rushed out. Which one of you is the patient's family member? The patient has a cardiac arrest and needs to sign a notice of critical illness. As soon as the nurse finished speaking, the entire corridor fell into a dead silence. Guan Xiao and Guan Rui looked at each other, their expressions extremely ugly. It was just drowning, and Lu Tingxiao had gone down to save them at that time. How could it be so serious? I am. Lu Tingxiao, who hadn't said a word since the beginning, took the notice from the nurse and signed his name. Then Lu Tingxiao's extremely cold eyes swept over Guan Rui and Guan Xiao, and his voice was icy cold. Deliberate murder is just a trivial matter in your eyes. Seeing that the hospital had even issued a notice of critical illness, and the girl was Lu Tingxiao's girlfriend, Mo Jianzhong knew that he couldn't suppress it so easily, so he no longer hesitated and immediately said to the policeman in front of him, Xiao Chen, take her away. Chapter 11:10. Then one of them walked over and handcuffed Cao Lirong's hands coldly. Cao Lirong immediately looked at Guan Rui and Guan Xiao in horror. Xiao. Uncle Guan. Help me. I didn't push her. She fell into the water by herself. I really didn't push her. However, the people in the corridor, including Guan Xiao and Guan Rui, had seen her push someone with their own eyes. How could they believe what she said? Yang Rui frowned and looked very unhappy. How could the Guan family have such a relative? Although she didn't like Ningxi, she didn't want her to die. But the one who pushed Ningxi into the water was a member of the Guan family. She had to think about it. Guan Ruben still wanted to say something, but Mo Jianzhong directly said with a cold face, I'm sorry, Brother Ruben. This matter has really blown up. We don't even know if the victim is alive or dead. Just now, there were so many guests at home, including some government officials. Something like this happened under their noses. I must give everyone an explanation. Guan Rui froze there. He was choked to the point that he couldn't say a word. These words were supposed to be his lines, but now, they had all become reasons for the other party to block him. Uncle Guan, help me. Uncle Guan, I really didn't push her, the girl in the white dress screamed and was taken away by the police. Guan Rui stood there with a dark face. The more he thought about it, the stranger he felt. What was going on? Their plan was perfect. Why was it Ningxi who fell into the water? Did Cao Lirong accidentally push someone into the water when she was carrying out the plan? She couldn't do anything right. Rongrong has no grudge against Ningxi. How could she deliberately murder her? It doesn't make sense. Guan Xiao said hurriedly. It doesn't make sense. So someone must have instructed her to do it. I believe the police will find the real murderer. Lu Tingxiao pointed the finger directly at the Guan family. Guan Xiao didn't expect that she had dug a hole for herself. Her face turned pale immediately. If Cao Lirong really sold them out, then they would all be doomed, even if their original plan was not to murder but to frame Ningxi. As long as they were found out, It wouldn't make any difference, the lights in the resuscitation room were still on. In the corridor, everyone had their own thoughts. The phone in Lu Tingxiao's pocket vibrated, and a message was sent. Baby, in order to make it look real, you must act a little sad. Let me teach you. Imagine how it feels to lose your wife Tilda. Seeing Ningxi's message, Lu Tingxiao's face darkened completely. This girl. How could such words be spoken so carelessly? Lu Tingxiao's acting skills weren't bad. After being angered by Ningxi's text message, his face darkened even further. He looked like he had just lost his wife. Guan Ziao originally had a trace of doubt that there would be a problem, but when she saw Lu Tingxiao's expression, she felt that it was unlikely. They would never have guessed that Lu Tingxiao had cooperated with her from the beginning to the end and helped her set Ningxi up. Ningxi and Lu Tingxiao would never have guessed that they would be tricked by Ningxi. However, this time, Ningxi had made up her mind to go all the way and thought that her calculations were flawless, but she didn't expect that she still missed one thing. Ding! The elevator door opened. At the end of the corridor, a man was running toward the emergency room at the end of the corridor with a small bun in his arms. Chapter 11:11. What happened? What happened? How is sister-in-law? Why did she fall into the water while attending a banquet? Lu Jingli held Xiaobao in his arms, gasping for breath and asking anxiously. Yang Rui's face changed when she saw that Lu Jingli brought Xiaobao with him. Why are you here? Why did you bring Xiaobao to such a place? Lu Chongshan was also displeased. Nonsense. Take Xiaobao back. The hospital is so unlucky. Lu Jingli wiped his sweat and said, I was taking care of the baby at home, but I suddenly received the news that sister-in-law was pushed into the water, so I hurried over. Xiaobao heard my call and insisted on coming with me. I had no choice. I had to take him with me. As he spoke, Xiaobao's eyes stared straight in the direction of the resuscitation room. He struggled hard in Lu Jingli's arms and let out hoarse cries. Lu Jingli could only put the little guy down. As soon as Xiaobao landed, he immediately ran to the emergency room. Staring at the tightly shut white door and the glaring red light above his head, Little Bun's face turned deathly pale. His small body trembled violently before he suddenly let out an extremely sharp scream from his throat, ah, 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 while shouting. He banged on the door of the operating room. The child's agitated behavior scared everyone. Yang Rui hurriedly ran over and held the child in her arms. Xiaobao, it's okay. It's okay. The doctor is inside. Your Aunt Xiaoxi will come out soon. Don't be afraid, ah. Lu Chongshan also hurried to comfort him. Don't be afraid, Xiaobao. Grandpa is here. I'll have someone cure your Aunt Xiaoxi. Let's go home first, okay? You'll disturb the doctor's work here. However, Xiaobao could no longer hear the voices of the people outside. He was still screaming uncontrollably, and even when his throat was hoarse, he did not stop. As he screamed, he used his little hands that were almost red from clapping to slap the door of the resuscitation room. His big eyes were filled with great fear and anxiety, and everyone around him could not help but be moved by him. Mo Jianzhong had already blamed himself. After all, Ningxi had an accident in his place, so he was absolutely to blame. And Mo Lingtian's body was shaking, and he could hardly stand steadily. This was the second time. He gave that woman's invitation to Guan Ziao. He was the one who gave it to her. How could this be? Sister-in-law had just sent me a text message and sent me a cute koi. How come his dying in the blink of an eye? Lu Jingli's shoulders twitched, and he almost burst into tears along with Xiaobao. The scene was chaotic. At the side, Lu Tingxiao had a headache as he watched the scene unfold before him. He didn't expect Lu Jingli to bring little Bao here. The sound insulation of the emergency room was very good, so Ningxi didn't know what was happening outside. However, with Ningxi's personality, even if she had to stop the plan now, she would not be willing to let Xiaobao be sad for even a second. Lu Tingxiao pondered for a moment. He was prepared to carry his son somewhere else and secretly tell him the truth. That was the only way. Lu Tingxiao thought as he walked towards his son. Xiaobao, be quiet and listen to me. However, before Lu Tingxiao could continue speaking, little Bao bit the back of his hand and pushed him away forcefully. Little Bao stared fixedly at him with eyes that were filled with terror and rage like those of an injured little beast, and then stared at everyone as he shouted at the top of his voice, "Mommy, I want Mama, I want Mama." Chapter 11-12. In the empty corridor, the child's shrill mom echoed clearly. Lu Tingxiao, Lu Jingli, Yang Ruyi, Lu Chongshan, all stood there in a daze. Xiaobao spoke, he called. "Mom." Lu Tingxiao was the first to react. He clicked on his cell phone a few times calmly. Then, the door of the emergency room opened and a doctor in a white coat came out. Any family member of the patient may be able to awaken the patient's desire to live. "Xiaobao. Doctor. Let Xiaobao in," Lu Jingli said immediately. So the doctor took Xiaobao's hand and entered the emergency room. The door was closed again and the corridor was quiet again. At the moment, in the emergency room, there was actually another cubicle inside. Ning, she had been sleeping in the cubicle just now. At this time, the door of the cubicle was suddenly opened from the outside. Ning, she thought the doctor had something to say to her. Unexpectedly, she saw the doctor come in with Xiaobao, whose eyes were red and who kept crying, "Xiaobao." Ning, she was surprised to see Xiaobao and quickly got up. However, before she got out of bed and walked over, Xiaobao had let go of the doctor's hand and rushed over quickly. He plunged into Mama's arms. The next second, he burst into tears. In the past, even if Xiaobao was sad, he would just look at you with a pair of big watery eyes. He had never cried so sadly. Soon, Ningxi's clothes were wet. Ningxi's heart almost broke as she looked at little Baozi, who was crying so hard that she couldn't catch her breath, and listened to the heart-wrenching cries in her ears. At the same time, she realized that she had underestimated Xiaobao. Damn it, it must be Lu Jingli who brought Xiaobao here. "Baby, don't cry, baby, don't cry, okay? Look, Mom is here, isn't she? She doesn't lose an arm or a leg. She is alive and kicking. Mom is not sick or injured at all. Mom lied to them, but I didn't expect that my baby would be cheated." Ning, she hurriedly explained to Xiaobao. Xiaobao lay in Mama's arms, clutching Mama's clothes tightly with his little hands. His little shoulders trembled and he almost couldn't breathe. "Mom. Mom is bad. Yes, yes, yes. Mom is bad. Mom is the worst. It's all my fault. Mom should have told Xiaobao in advance. In the end, not only did we scare the bad guys, but we also accidentally scared our Xiaobao. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Mom is the most naughty, Speaking of this, Ning, she suddenly realized something. Her eyes suddenly widened and she stared at the little bun in her arms. "Bao, Bun, what did you just say? What did you just say? Say it again. Hurry up. Was she hallucinating just now? Why did she seem to hear Xiaobao calling her?" Xiaobao raised his little head and revealed a little face that was filled with grief. He looked at Ningxi with extreme grievance, and his hoarse voice carried a hint of childishness. "Mommy is bad." As soon as she finished speaking, Ningxi hugged the little bun tightly in her arms, tears streaming down her cheeks. Xiaobao called her mommy. Xiaobao actually called her mother. Xiaobao really called her mother. Steamed Bun was calling her bad. Raw. Xiaobao said that Mama was bad. Oh my god. She was so happy that she was about to die. Chapter 11-13. It had been a few months since Xiao Bao last spoke, and he still hadn't said a single word during this period. Although she was anxious, she knew that this kind of thing couldn't be rushed, so she never forced the child to speak. After a long time, she was already used to communicating with Xiao Bao using the writing board. In fact, most of the time, she could understand Xiao Bao's meaning with just one look. She didn't feel that Xiao Bao was any different from other children. However, when she really heard Xiao Bao say mommy, her chest felt as if it had been heavily struck by something enormous, and a warm current spread from her heart to her limbs and bones. It was a completely indescribable and wonderful feeling. She hugged Xiao Bao tightly in her arms. She felt that she was so close to this child that it was as if they had never left each other, and should have been one. "Miss Ning, President Liu is asking, can we go out now?" A nurse's gentle voice came from the door. Although Ningxi wanted to stay with Xiao Bao for a while longer, she had to act until the end. She quickly calmed herself down. Yes. With that, Ningxi wiped Xiao Bao's tears. Her eyes were astonishingly bright, and she said word by word, Xiao Bao, don't worry. I will definitely become your mommy. Xiao Bao nodded vigorously. Tears swayed in his eyes, and he hugged his mama tightly. A few minutes later, with a ding sound, the red light above the emergency room turned off. The door was pushed open from both sides, and Ningxi was pushed out by a few doctors. Beside the cart was Xiao Bao, who still had traces of tears on his face. Although little Baozi still looked miserable, he was much better than before. It should be that Ningxi was fine. As expected, the doctor said, the patient is out of danger. As soon as he said that, everyone present heaved a sigh of relief. My Xiao Bao is indeed useful. Lu Jingli said excitedly. Yang Ruyi and Lu Chongshan looked at each other and also heaved a sigh of relief. Judging from Xiao Bao's reaction just now, if something really happened to this woman, who knew what he would do? Even if they didn't like this woman, they couldn't deny that Xiao Bao couldn't leave her now. Guan Xiao's body swayed slightly and her eyes were filled with malice. Things had already come to this. It would be better if that woman had simply died, but she was not dead. Not only that, when Xiao Bao called her mother just now, it actually caused Yang Ruyi and Lu Chongshan's expressions to waver for that woman. Things were getting worse and worse, in the quiet corridor of the hospital. Mo Lingtian's face was full of struggle. In the end, he could not help but ask, Zi Yao, was what happened today really just an accident? Guan Xiao was already upset, so when she heard Mo Lingtian's words, her face turned even uglier. Mo Lingtian, what do you mean? Under the watchful eyes of the public, and Cao Lirong is a distant relative of my family, I can't get away from this. How could I order her to kill someone in public? Do you think I'm that stupid? Mo Lingtian also knew that this was impossible. However, this matter was too strange and too coincidental. But we have seen the surveillance video just now. Cao Lirong has been provoking Ningxi in the whole process. Why did she suddenly act so aggressively? Mo Lingtian continued to say. Chapter 11:14. Guan Xiao's expression changed slightly, but she quickly calmed down. I've been in a bad mood these days and Rongrong has been by my side all this time. Maybe I drank too much and told her about me and Tingxiao, so she found out about Ningxi's existence. That's why she went to Ningxi to tell her those things. Everything was just an accident. Now, are you suspecting me? Are you suspecting that I'm the mastermind behind all this? Mo Lingtian looked at Guan Xiao's hurt gaze and clenched his fists. I'm sorry. Ningxi almost got into trouble today. You know, I was the one who gave you that invitation. If something really happened to Ningxi, I won't be able to absolve myself of the blame. Guan Xiao's expression softened. She walked up to Mo Lingtian and held his hand. Lingtian, I'm sorry, I've implicated you. But it's all my fault and it has nothing to do with you. You don't have to blame yourself. Mo Lingtian looked at the girl holding his hand, his lowered eyes filled with struggle. Xiao, can I really trust you? Lingtian, this was indeed an accident, but Tingxiao labeled it as murder in a moment of anger. This is too serious. Lingtian, can you help me think of a way? After all, Rongrong came here to accompany me and it's also because of me that these misunderstandings happened. She's still so young. If there's a criminal record because of this, her life will be ruined. Guan Xiao said anxiously. The most important thing now was to get Cao Lirong out before she betrayed them. However, her entire family was in their hands, so they believed that she wouldn't do anything stupid. They just had to be careful. Looking at Guan Xiao's anxious expression, Mo Lingtian didn't listen to her words like before. As long as it was something she needed help with, he wouldn't hesitate to help her. Instead, he pinched his eyebrows and said, I'm sorry, I really can't help you this time. You know Tingxiao's character. Ningxi almost lost her life this time, so he won't let her go easily. Even I can't interfere with the police now. Then what should I do? Rongrong only came here for a holiday, but something like this happened. How am I going to explain this to her parents? Guan Xiao held her forehead and her body swayed. Everything that happened today was out of her control, and her burden had already reached its limit. Mo Lingtian hurriedly supported her and comforted her. Xiao, don't be too anxious. Fortunately, Ningxi is fine now, and as you said, Rongrong and Ningxi just had a quarrel. There was no intentional murder. The truth is here, and the police won't make things difficult for her after finding out the truth. Even if Ting Xiao is pressuring her, she will only be charged with intentional assault at most. Guan Xiao held her forehead, and her eyes were filled with coldness. Mo Lingtian was right. This time, Lu Tingxiao would not give up. It was useless to look for anyone. There was only one way: late at night, detention center. Guan Rui used all of his means but still failed to save Cao Lirong. He only managed to get a few minutes to talk. What the hell is going on? Tell me clearly, Guan Rui asked with a gloomy expression. Later, he watched the surveillance footage several times, and it showed that she had indeed pushed Ningxi into the water. He couldn't deny it even if he wanted to. Chapter 11:15. Cao Lirong's body trembled slightly and her face was pale. She grabbed the iron railing and said agitatedly, "I've said it many times. I didn't push her. I didn't push her. I've been sick for so many years and my limbs are weak. I don't even have the strength to kill an ant. How could I have pushed such a big person into the water? I pushed her just to force her to hit me. Although my movements looked big, I'm sure I only touched her lightly. I didn't use any strength at all. It's her. She set me up. She fell into the pond on her own. It was that bitch who framed me. Uncle Guan, believe me." "What did you say? You mean Ningxi did it on purpose?" Guan Rui stood up. "She definitely did it on purpose. I'm sure," Cao Lirong said with certainty. Hearing this, Guan Rui's expression completely changed. He slowly sat back on the chair in a daze. Damn it. How could this be? That woman did it on purpose. Could it be that she had already seen through their plan, so she played along and framed them instead? If that was the case, then what about the rescue, her critical condition? Oh yes, Lu Tingxiao. Lu Tingxiao, that private hospital was one of Lu Group's properties. As long as Lu Tingxiao said the word, it would be easy for him to put on a show. But would Lu Tingxiao really do that for that woman? What made him even more incredulous was that the woman could actually see through his plan and even backstab him. If that woman really knew everything, then it would be terrible. It was impossible to brush it off with quarrel and accident. Guan Rui looked at Cao Lirong out of the corner of his eye. The next morning, Xiao Bao began to knock on Papa's door at dawn. "Get up. I'm going to the hospital to see Mama." Lu Tingxiao opened the door and looked at his son. "Call Daddy. Call Daddy and I'll take you there." The little fellow immediately showed a look of disdain. He turned his head and went downstairs. "I don't want Papa. I can take a taxi." Lu Tingxiao smiled helplessly at his son's look of disdain. After washing up, just as Zhong Xian was about to bring Xiaobao to the hospital, Yang Rui, Lu Chongshan, and Lu Jingli rushed over. After arriving, all of them stared at Xiaobao without saying a word. Xiaobao spoke again yesterday, including the previous 2 times. This was already the 3rd time. Did this mean that Xiaobao could speak normally now? The 3 of them immediately looked at Lu Tingxiao. Yang Rui tugged at her son anxiously and said, "Tingxiao, how is it? Did Xiaobao say anything when he came back last night?" Lu Tingxiao, "Xiaobao fell asleep last night and was carried back." "Then, did he say anything when he woke up this morning?" Lu Chongshan asked. Lu Tingxiao, "No." Yang Rui and Lu Chongshan exchanged glances with each other, their faces filled with disappointment. "Don't tell me he won't speak for a few months again. What should I do?" Yang Rui was obviously disappointed. "It's already very good." Lu Chongshan consoled himself. At this moment, Lu Jingli was squatting in front of little Bun. "Bun, call me second uncle." "Scream. Tell second uncle to give you candy." Chapter 11:16. Xiaobao simply ignored him and turned his head to prepare to give Mama the love that he wanted to give to her. Lu Jingli scratched his head. Sure enough. But don't be disappointed. Maybe my sister-in-law has a way to make him talk again. Hearing this, Yang Ruyi and Lu Chongshan's eyes lit up and Yang Ruyi urged, then let's go to the hospital to see Xiaoxi. The corner of Lu Jingli's mouth twitched. Ahem, Xiaoxi. It was the first time that he had heard his mother call Ning Shi so affectionately, so the family of 5 rushed to the hospital to visit Xiaoxi. The private hospital was very luxurious. The ward where Ning Shi lived was comparable to a presidential suite in a hotel. It was very warm and comfortable, not like a hospital but a vacation. As soon as they entered the ward, they saw Ning Shi lying on the bed with a haggard face and 2 heavy dark circles under her eyes. Lu Tingxiao's face changed at the sight of Ning Shi, because he could tell at a glance whether Ning Shi was pretending or not. He had specifically reminded them to use the best of everything in this environment. How could they look so haggard after just one night? Xiaobao, you're here. On the bed, Ning Shi, who had been staring at the ceiling blankly, immediately sat up when she saw Xiaobao. Her eyes were so bright and her little face was full of vigor. She didn't look weak and haggard at all. Lu Tingxiao's face couldn't help but turn slightly dark when he saw this. This girl. Could it be because little Bao called her mommy that she was excited for an entire night and didn't sleep, causing her to look so haggard? As soon as Xiaobao saw his mother, he immediately rushed over and blurted out, "Mom." On the way here, no matter how Yang Ruyi, Lu Chongshan, and Lu Jingli teased him, Xiaobao didn't speak. But when he saw Ning Shi, he directly called out, which stunned the 3 of them. Ning Shi was so happy that she couldn't tell north from south. She hugged Xiaobao and rubbed against him. "Oh, I'm finally sure. I didn't hallucinate last night. Babe really called me Mom." She was so excited and worried that she couldn't sleep for the whole night. Now she was finally relieved. No, she still felt a little uneasy. "Baby, can you call me again?" Ning Shi asked expectantly. Hearing this, Lu Chongshan and Yang Ruyi could not help but hold their breaths and wait. "Mom." Xiaobao called out again without hesitation. "One more time. Mom. One more time, one more time. Mom. Can we do it one last time?" Xiaobao ran over and hugged his mother's neck tightly. His big eyes were filled with uneasiness and fear from last night's fright, and he said in a hoarse voice, "Mom, don't leave Xiaobao behind." Ning Shi felt distressed and blamed herself. She held the little fellow in her arms like a precious baby. Never in this life. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. God. Oh my God. Xiaobao had said 8 words in one breath. 8 word. "Mom, did you hear that?" Lu Jingli cried out in alarm. Seeing this scene, Yang Ruyi could not help but tear up. Nodding repeatedly, she said, "Yes, yes." Even Lu Chongshan was deeply moved. Xiaobao had spoken. Xiaobao was really willing to speak. Now it should be confirmed that there was no problem, right? Chapter 11:17. Looking at Yang Ruyi and Lu Chongshan, Ning Shi knew that they were very concerned about Xiaobao, so she pointed at the vase at the bedside and asked softly, "Baby, what's this?" Xiaobao looked in Ning Shi's direction and answered clearly, "Flower." "What about this?" Suppressing her excitement, Ning Shi picked up an apple. "Apple. What about this?" Ning Shi picked up an air conditioner remote control. "Remote control." Then Ning Shi pointed at a few more things, and the little boy answered them one by one. Although he hadn't spoken for a long time, he had no problem speaking and pronouncing. "My baby is so smart." Ning Shi praised him excitedly. Being praised by Mama, Xiaobao pursed his lips shyly to show that he was very happy. Then he took the lunchbox he brought and said, "Mama, eat it." Okay. Thank you, baby. Mama will eat all of it." Yang Ruyi burst into tears of joy. "That's great. That's really great." This time, Xiaobao could really speak. She had been worried that Xiaobao wouldn't be able to speak because he hadn't spoken for a long time. Zi Yarrow had said that she would introduce a language rehabilitation teacher to Xiaobao, But now it seemed that Xiaobao had no problem speaking at all. Lu Chongshan looked at his precious grandson with a gratified expression. He didn't even care that his grandson called Ningxi Mama. It's a blessing in disguise. Lu Chongshan sighed. Yang Rui glared at him and said in a low voice, "What do you mean by a blessing in disguise?" "I've already said that this girl is blessed. Look, not only did she manage to turn misfortune into blessing, even our Xiaobao has benefited from it. If it weren't for this, would Xiaobao be able to speak properly?" Lu Chongshan glanced at his wife. Because he was in a good mood, he didn't refute. Xiaobao stayed with Ningxi for a while, but because he had to go to school, he could only reluctantly leave with his grandparents and second uncle. Lu Tingxiao stayed to take care of Ningxi. When there were only Ningxi and Lu Tingxiao left in the ward, Ningxi finally couldn't restrain her excitement anymore. She instantly jumped off the bed and jumped at Lu Tingxiao. "Lu Tingxiao, did you hear that? Darling Xiaobao is calling me mummy, so you were so excited that you didn't sleep all night?" The man unhappily carried her back to the bed. Ningxi was scolded, but she didn't care at all. She continued to be excited. "Xiaobao called me mommy, ha 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 ha, I'm so happy." Looking at Ningxi, Lu Tingxiao had no doubt that she would be so excited that she wouldn't sleep for another day. "Got it. I've already recorded it for you. Can you sleep peacefully now?" "Ah, really? Darling, you are so sweet. Play it for me. Hurry up." Ningxi urged anxiously. Lu Tingxiao had no choice but to play the recording on his phone. As soon as he pressed play, Xiaobao's childish voice of mommy immediately sounded from the phone. Ningxi immediately held Lu Tingxiao's cell phone in her arms and played it over and over again. Suddenly, she thought of something and muttered with a snort, "I have to thank Guan Rui and Guan Xiao this time. By the way, how about Cao Lirong?" Chapter 11:18. The police are interrogating her, but they haven't found anything yet. The Guan family must have something on her. It will take some time to make her confess. But there's one thing I'm curious about. If they want to frame me, it won't be enough for me to push her into the water, unless I accidentally kill her in front of everyone. Cao Lirong has a congenital heart disease and is beyond cure. She can't swim. If she falls into the water now, she will definitely die. And it's reasonable for her to die like this, I see. Even if I save her in time and she doesn't die, I'm afraid he will do something to the hospital. He's determined to frame me as the murderer. Ningxi said seriously, "I'm afraid Guan Rui will kill Cao Lirong to prevent her from confessing. I've sent someone to keep an eye on her 24 hours a day." At the same time, in the Lu family's car, Yang Rui, Lu Chongshan, and Lu Jingli were very excited after confirming that Xiaobao could speak normally. On the way to school, the three of them kept trying to make Xiaobao talk, especially Lu Jingli. Unfortunately, after leaving the hospital, Xiaobao, who was not with Ningxi, became silent, which made Yang Rui and Lu Chongshan anxious. Lu Jingli tried his best to make Xiaobao talk. He imitated Ningxi and asked him with a doll in his hand, "Xiaobao, what's this?" Xiaobao looked out of the window with his chin in his hand, as if he hadn't heard anything. Lu Jingli picked up the perfume in the car. "Xiaobao, what's this?" Xiaobao still didn't respond. Lu Jingli picked up his cell phone again. "Xiaobao, do you know what this is?" Xiaobao still didn't speak. Lu Jingli grabbed Yang Rui's bag. "What about this? Do you know what it is?" In the end, even Yang Rui and Lu Chongshan found Lu Jingli annoying. Yang Rui said angrily, "Jingli, don't disturb Xiaobao. He just started talking. Don't tire him out." Lu Chongshan said, "Your mom is right." Lu Jingli was speechless. Who can talk until they're tired? Don't you want to hear what Xiaobao has to say? Don't you? Yang Rui and Lu Chongshan stopped talking. Of course they wanted to hear it. Thus, Lu Jingli persevered and took out another apple from somewhere. "Xiaobao, what is this? What is this? Do you know him? Do you know him?" This time, Xiaobao finally shifted his gaze from the window to Lu Jingli's face. Then, under Lu Jingli's incomparably excited and expectant gaze, Xiao Bao expressionlessly said word by word, "Second uncle, are you an idiot?" Lu Jingli, Yang Ruyi, Lu Chongshan. After a moment of silence, Yang Ruyi and Lu Chongshan couldn't help but burst into laughter. Even the driver, Xing Wu, couldn't help but laugh. The young master was too cute. The more Yang Ruyi looked at her precious grandson, the more she liked him. My Xiaobao is really too smart. Lu Chongshan nodded. The grandson of the Lu family is naturally quick-witted. Hey hey hey. Is there anyone like you? I'm the son of the Lu family. This stinking brat just called me an idiot. You even praised him for being smart and quick-witted. Lu Jingli protested unhappily. Why the hell did he say it was an apple when sister-in-law gave him one? And he got such a heart-wrenching answer. Where's the justice in this? Yang Ruyi glared at him. Xiao Bao already called you second uncle, and you're still not satisfied? I haven't even heard him call me grandma. Lu Chongshan looked unhappy too. He hasn't called me grandpa either. When Lu Jingli heard that, his tears turned into laughter. He said excitedly, "That's right. He only called me mom, he didn't even call me brother. Ahahaha. Xiao Bao called me second uncle. The second person Xiao Bao called is second uncle. Ha 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 ha. I'm going to show off to my brother." Chapter 11-19. A few days later, at a private gathering of the capital's celebrities. Inside the private room, a few rich heirs were fighting to toast Zhao Haisheng. Congratulations, President Zhao. There are 4 great joys in life. Sweet dew after a long drought, meeting an old friend in a foreign land, wedding night, and passing the exam. You've gotten 2 of them in just a few days. You've married a wife and inherited the company. Ha ha ha, everyone, you're too polite. I'm just lucky. Zhao Haisheng said modestly as he sipped his wine. That's not too good, okay? How did you manage to hook up with the Lu group? Seeing that your family's company was about to be taken over by your illegitimate son, Lu Tingxiao suddenly appeared out of nowhere. He fucking threw $1 billion to turn the tide and helped you secure your position as the president of the Zhao Corporation overnight. That's right. Our eyes almost popped out of our sockets. Hey, let's get down to business. How did you convince Lu Tingxiao to help you? Do you two have such a good relationship? Zhao Haisheng waved his hand as the people in the private room kept asking questions. You guys think too highly of me. At most, I would occasionally follow Brother Tian to a few meals with President Lu. Then, we climbed a mountain together a few days ago, but we didn't talk at all. Not to mention you guys, I'm also puzzled about this. Not only do I not have any friendship with President Lu, but our 2 companies have no business dealings at all. I really don't know why he helped me. Fuck. That's enough, kid. Don't take it for granted. Ha 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 ha, that's because President Lu appreciates my talent, so he helped me. That's my personal charm. The private room was noisy. In the corner, Mo Lingtian listened to the conversation between Zhao Haisheng and the rich heirs. His mouth twitched as he took a sip of wine. Personal charm? Talent. Talent, my ass. However, Zhao Haisheng, this kid, really ran into dogshit luck this time. Others might not know, but how could he not know? The only reason Lu Tingxiao helped Zhao Haisheng was because Zhao Haisheng and his wife stopped Cao Lirong from escaping. Even if Zhao Haisheng racked his brain, he wouldn't have guessed that he would receive such a reward from Lu Tingxiao for doing something he didn't do casually. Speaking of which, a few days ago, someone almost died at Brother Tian's father's birthday banquet. Do you know about this? Someone in the private room suddenly asked in a low voice. Are you serious? No wonder Brother Tian is always in a bad mood and drinking alone. What happened next? Later, it was said that the person who pushed her into the water died in the detention center. Damn. How did he die? Did he commit suicide to escape punishment? I think he had a heart attack and died. When this happened, Zhao Haisheng was there, and he knew that the person involved was Lu Tingxiao's girlfriend, and the one who pushed him was a relative of Guan Xiao's family. There must be some complicated inside story, so he just listened to the discussion of others and didn't say a word. As Mo Lingtian listened to the discussion around him, his already dull headache worsened. His head felt like it was about to explode. In the next second, he suddenly kicked the coffee table and walked straight out of the private room. Behind him, there was dead silence. After Mo Lingtian left for a long time, there was another round of gossip. Chapter 11:20. Mo Lingtian endured the splitting headache and drove aimlessly on the deserted road in the middle of the night. That's right, Cao Lirong died. Zi Yao's explanation was that Cao Lirong's health was not good, and the environment in the detention center was too bad, so she suddenly died. From the forensic examination, it was indeed so, and there was nothing unusual. But Cao Lirong just had to die at this time. How could he believe that this matter was an exception from the beginning to the end? However, he couldn't imagine what Zi Yao really did in this matter. In his impression, she had such a free and easy temperament. How could she do such a thing that went against her principles for personal feelings? Mo Lingtian kept finding excuses for her. The last time he investigated Ning Shi, it was her father who did it without permission. This time, it must be her father who did it secretly, and she didn't know about it. Mo Lingtian felt that his soul was almost about to be split into two halves. Half of it was him who believed her, and the other half was him who suspected her. Unknowingly, he actually drove in front of a row of low, small houses. Then, he muddleheadedly walked towards a very old small building, suddenly fell in front of the door, and knocked hard on the door, bang, bang, bang at the door, accompanied by a series of hurried footsteps. A girl in pajamas and a coat hurriedly opened the door and appeared at the door. She had a shocked expression on her face, and then her eyes surged with a hint of pleasant surprise that was as bright as stars. Ling Tian, in the thick and oppressive night, the girl stood at the door, as pure and elegant as a lily, exuding an extremely comfortable and relaxed aura. Mo Lingtian felt like he was a traveler walking in the wilderness in the middle of the night, and finally returned home. Because he suddenly relaxed, all the strength in his body was suddenly sucked out, and he fell forward in an instant. Ah! The girl exclaimed and hurriedly reached out to support him, but she really couldn't bear the man's weight. In the end, the two of them fell to the ground together. Before the man fell to the ground, the girl used the back of her hand to cushion the man's head in advance, but she was knocked so hard that she almost cried. She asked in a panic, "Are you okay? Does it hurt? Get up." As the girl spoke, she tried to help Mo Lingtian up. Mo Lingtian looked at the girl's face in a daze. When he was halfway up, he suddenly exerted force and pressed the girl under him. Scorching kisses landed on the girl's lips, collarbone, shoulders, and so on, one after another. The girl tried to push him away, but the man's strength was too great. He was also drunk. One of his legs pressed against her knee, and his palms locked her hands above her head. She could not move at all. She could only let him nibble on her skin bit by bit. He nudged open the collar of her pajamas, and his hot kisses moved down. Lu Group, CEO's office. "Chairman Guan, you can't go in. The CEO is not seeing guests right now. Guan Dong." Guan. Guan Rui ignored the secretary's obstruction and pushed open the door of the president's office. Lu Tingxiao. In front of the spacious office desk, the man raised his head from a pile of documents and glanced at the little secretary. The secretary immediately retreated with fear and trepidation, closing the office door tightly. "Lu Tingxiao, what do you mean by this?" Guan Rui threw a newspaper in front of the man. Chapter 11:21. The headline of the financial section of the newspaper was about the latest collaboration between the Lu Group and the Zhao Group. The collaboration between the Lu Group and the Zhao family was supposed to be with the Guan family. "Your father and I agreed on this collaboration a long time ago, but you signed it with the Zhao family on your own. Shouldn't you give me an explanation?" Guan Rui asked fiercely. Lu Tingxiao looked at the man indifferently and said, "Chairman Guan, you don't seem to understand who's in charge of the Lu family now." "You." Guan Rui was speechless. The capital was Lu Tingxiao's territory. They had to go through the Lu family if they wanted to gain a foothold, but Lu Tingxiao was in charge of the Lu family now. Guan Rui had no choice but to suppress his anger and soften his attitude. He said earnestly, "Tingxiao, I don't know if that woman whispered some pillow talk into your ears, but the truth is right in front of your eyes. What happened last time was very clear. It was indeed an accident caused by an argument. Not only that, Rongrong has already paid the price with her life. Isn't that enough? As soon as Guan Rui finished speaking, a dark glint flashed across Lu Tingxiao's cold eyes. Not long ago, he had received a call from the police station saying that Cao Lirong had died of a sudden heart attack. Guan Rui was lucky. He had already sent people to keep an eye on her 24/7, so they couldn't do anything. However, Cao Lirong had probably died of a sudden heart attack in the detention center because she was under too much pressure. There was no evidence now, so it didn't matter what the Guan family said. That was why Guan Rui had come to question him fearlessly. What premeditated murder? That's complete nonsense. There's no evidence at all. You want to destroy the friendship between our Lu and Guan families with such a baseless accusation? Tingxiao, you better think this through. Guan Rui's tone contained a hint of threat. Lu Tingxiao looked at the man in front of him expressionlessly and said unhurriedly, "Who said I need evidence? Who said I need evidence to close the collaboration? Do I need a reason to stand up for my wife?" Guan Rui was really angry this time. You can't tell right from wrong for a woman. You've already been bewitched by her. You'll regret it one day. Guan Rui came in a rage and was even more furious when he left. After leaving the Lu Group building, he immediately went to the Lu family mansion. However, he was told that Lu Chongshan was at the Platinum Palace when he arrived. Thus, Guan Rui had no choice but to go to the palace. When Guan Rui arrived, Xiaobao was learning painting from Song Jin in the little red house at the back. Lu Chongshan was also observing from the side. Occasionally, he would exchange a few words with Song Jin about his insights or interesting things about Xiaobao. The atmosphere was unusually harmonious. When Lu Chongshan heard the servant say that Guan Rui actually found his way here, he was a little unhappy because his time with his grandson was interrupted. "Old Song, I have a guest, I have to take my leave." Lu Chongshan had no choice but to greet Song Jin before heading to the living room to receive Guan Rui. "Guan family mansion, what brought you here?" You asked. Lu family and Guan family mansion. Chongshan family and Lu Guan Chongshan family Lu Yu Lu Lu. I'm and I Lu. Upon hearing this, Lu Chongshan hurriedly said, "Sigh, look at my memory. I was practicing painting with my grandson just now, so I switched off my phone. I'm really sorry." Chapter 11:22. Guan Rui was so angry that he didn't bother to chat with Lu Chongshan anymore. He went straight to the point. "Brother Lu, I'm not going to tell you anything else. I'm sure you know why I'm here today. I made a deal with you when I first came back to China. Half a month ago, I confirmed with you that there would be no problem. But now you suddenly went back on your word and gave it to the Zhao family. Isn't this a slap in the face to the Guan family?" Lu Chongshan knew that he was here for this matter. He gestured for him to sit down and said helplessly, "Brother Guan, our families have been friends for so many years. I'll do my best to help you when you come back to China. I'm also happy to cooperate with the Guan family." It wasn't just me, Tingxiao also felt the same way. At that time, he personally agreed to it. But, as you know, after what happened a few days ago. Hearing this, Guan Rui's face immediately filled with anger. That matter has already been investigated. It was an accident. It was Rongrong's fault for speaking rudely, but it's normal for girls to quarrel. She even lost her life, but that woman is still so unforgiving. She's too vicious. I don't know how that woman instigated trouble in Tingxiao's ears. It's such a big case, but she changed her mind just like that. Chongshan, Tingxiao is still young and he is easily influenced by his emotions. He is about to be bewitched by that woman. Don't tell me you're going to let him do whatever he wants. Lu Chongshan's face darkened. He could scold and question his son, but it wasn't up to an outsider to say these things. Even if it was Guan Rui. What was more, he saw it with his own eyes from the beginning. He saw Ningxi being pushed into the water by the relative of the Guan family, and he saw the rude provocation of the woman in the surveillance video. Ningxi didn't even say a word until she was pushed into the emergency room and given a notice of critical illness. He heard Xiaobao's shrill cries with his own ears. He still had a lingering fear in his heart. Although Cao Lirong had died later, she had died of a heart attack. It wasn't like the Lu family had forced her to her death. However, Guan Rui's tone made it sound like the Lu family was the one who had caused her death. Furthermore, there was no evidence now. No one knew whether or not the Guan family had played any tricks in this matter. Even he had his suspicions, let alone Tingxiao. Therefore, although he felt that Tingxiao's decision to swap out the project without hesitation was a little hasty, he could understand his son's decision. No man could remain indifferent to such a thing. No matter how much he disliked Ningxi, he could not deny that this matter had nothing to do with Ningxi from beginning to end. On the contrary, it was thanks to her that Xiaobao was able to speak. At the thought of this, Lu Chongshan said, "Brother Guan, Tingxiao's sudden change of business partners was indeed a little hasty, but it was understandable. After all, the Guan family was in the wrong. If it wasn't for Cao Lirong's provocation and assault, things wouldn't have developed to this stage. Based on Tingxiao's personality, he's only changing his business partner because of our many years of friendship." You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.